Hello YouTube family and welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to print a digital pattern in an A4 pattern paper using a home printer. In one of our previous videos we took a picture of our physical pattern and then we copied it into the computer. I'm going to be showing you guys how to save the pattern in tiled artboards that are the size of an A4 paper. And then later on we're going to assemble the papers and then come up with our pattern. So without wasting any more time, let's head over to the computer and get started, shall we? Okay, so here we are. We've already opened our Adobe Illustrator, as you can see. We are first going to open your digital pattern. In our case, we're going to open the basic bodice pattern that we copied onto the computer the last time. So you go to File, and then you're going to go to Open. And of course, you are going to go to the location where you stored your pattern. In my case, this is my basic pattern. So I'm just going to open it. So this is our basic bodice pattern. As you can see, the pattern is in a big artboard. This is an A0 paper size artboard. So if I can show you, this is our artboard right here. So the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to create a new project and we're going to create some tiles which are going to be smaller sizes, like the size of an A4 paper size. So we go to File. So we are going to click New. And then we're going to give a name to our project. So we can just name it anything that you can remember. In our case, I'm just going to say basic bodice, maybe A4 paper. And then next thing, we're supposed to decide on the number of the artboards that we're going to need. From experience, I know that it will need about 12 artboards here. I'm going to write 12, that is the number of the artboards, or maybe the number of the pages if you decide to put it like that. And then the number of columns, in this case, I'm going to make them 4, so that the rows, we are going to have 3 rows and then 4 columns. So I write 4 for the number of columns. And then after deciding the columns, next thing we are going to decide the units that we are going to be using for the project. In my case today, I want to make use of inches. So you just click in the units here. And then you pick inches. If you want centimeters, you can go ahead and choose centimeters, but I want to go with inches. And after choosing inches, next thing we're going to decide the width of each artboard. In our case, the width of the artboard, you have to make sure that it's going to fit in the A4 paper. So in my case, I decided to go with 7.5 inches. Highlight and then type in the 7.5 like that. And then I come to the height. So I will go with 10.75 inches. It has to be slightly less than the A4 paper. Type in 10.75 inches, say OK. So this is our new project. As you can see, we have 12 artboards. Save the project first. Make sure we save it as. Choose the location where you want to put it and just click Save. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is that we are going to copy our basic bodies from the other project and then paste it this side. So we go ahead. And then we're going to highlight everything. And then we copy. Okay guys, I'm so used to using shortcuts, so I'm just going to press Ctrl C. If you don't know the shortcut, you can simply go to Edit and go Copy. And then you come back to the new project. And then you are going to say Edit, Paste. But in my case, I'm going to say Ctrl V. And then that is going to paste everything. I'm just going to pull the front pattern to the right. So now we have our patterns. The back pattern occupies 6 artboards and then the front pattern occupies another 6 artboards. Now we are going to come to the layers. When we pasted our basic pattern, we can see that automatically it created a second layer and named it the basic pattern. That is what the basic pattern was called in our previous project. So this is going to be the layer which contains our pattern, but I want the layer with the pattern to be at the bottom and I want the other layer to be at the top. I'm going to hold the layer like this and then pull it down. Like so. We're going to lock this layer with the pattern and then come to the layer at the top. We are going to go to the options, change the color. Maybe I'm going to choose the color green. The name of the second layer, we are going to name it labels like that and then say OK. So now we've got 2 layers. The first one is the basic bodice layer and the other one is the labels layer. So the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to label the pattern. We first have to label it as the front pattern and then the back pattern, and maybe write any seam allowance if we have any. Just write any information that is pertaining the pattern. Okay, we go to text, then we come here, write the pattern labels. Maybe we can zoom in like that. So if you want to zoom in or zoom out, you just press Alt and then you move the wheel, you move it up for zooming in and then move it down for zooming out. Okay, next thing I'm going to write that this is a front basic bodice. I'm going to write that you cut one on fold. If there is any seam allowance, you can also write that down, but in my case there is no seam allowance, so I'm going to write that no seam allowance. We go back to the typing tool, and then we're going to write that this is the back basic bodice pattern. And then you also write that we are going to cut 2, and then write no seam allowance. If your seam allowance was 0.5 of an inch, we're going to write here that 0.5 inch seam allowance. Next thing, we can also add the grain line to the pattern, and then we do the same thing to the other pattern. We are just going to draw the grain line. Again, we zoom out a bit. And then next thing, we are going to add a scale onto the pattern. We are going to add a scale of both inches and also centimeters. And then after printing the pattern, we are going to use a tape measure to measure and actually see if the pattern has been printed up to the correct scale or to the correct size or measurement. So this is going to be our scale in inches. We are then going to label, and then we can write 0. That is 0 inches here. Here we are going to write 1 inch. Again, we are going to write 2 inches here. Then we just make sure that we position everything in one straight line. Okay, so that is our scale in inches. If you want to add another scale, maybe in centimeters, you can just start by going to document setup at the top. If document setup is not there, you can go to file and then go to document setup, and then you can change the units. We are going to change the units temporarily to centimeters. That is because we want to add the scale in centimeters. We are then going to change them back to inches after that. So just say OK, and then after that we are going to draw another scale next to this one. We just draw a line. That is here. You can see now that the length of the line is now in centimeters. We are going to maybe draw a 5 centimeter line. We are just going to write next to 5. We are going to write centimeter. This one is in inches, this one is in centimeters. We are then going to zoom out. So this right here at the top is our scale. Next, again, we're going to label the pages. So we are going to be using letters and numbers to identify our pages. Let me just take this one, push it towards the right. And then at the center, we can then put the label for the page. This is the first page, remember, it's the first row. So we are going to say this is A1. We take it and we just position it nicely at the center like that. Right now we have labeled everything up to C4. So that is how we are going to be identifying the pages when we are assembling together the pages. Okay. Remember to save your work as you are going. Next thing, we are going to be adding certain shapes that are going to be guides when we are now assembling the patterns. Okay, you can make use of circles, you can make use of squares, you can make use of anything. So you just come here, this is where you are going to find the shape which you can make use of. You just press and hold. Now we have got all the shapes, a rounded rectangle, anything that can help you when you're assembling the pages. In my case, I'm going to use a square. Zoom everything in, then I come here to the corner, click there. Remember, we changed the document setup to centimeters instead of the inches. So we are going to go back to document setup at the top, and we are going to change everything back to inches. So the rest of our work is going to be in inches. So right now we are drawing a square. You can decide how big you want your square to be. I want it to be 0.75 of an inch, 0.75, the width and also the height. Then I press OK. We say it has to be blank at the center. Around the edges, it must have some lines like that. I'm going to change it into a kite instead of a square. We now have some kind of a kite. Make sure that we zoom in until we can see the corner like that. We place it at the corner. So that is where our square is going to be. Press the Alt key and drag. So I'm basically copying the square to the other corner like that. Next, I'm going to zoom in order to position the square correctly. Place it right there. Then again, I can zoom out. Now I want to have another guide at the center of the page. Next thing, we are going to copy the square again and place it in this corner right here. We have completed the first square. Next thing, we are supposed to do the same thing for all the pages. So now we have put the assembling guides. You can now save the document as a PDF document. But there's one last thing that I like to do. When I'm assembling the pages together, I normally cut on one side of the paper and then match it with the next one. To do that, I also love to add some kind of a cutting guide, that is a dotted line, okay, on the edges of all the papers, okay. So that is exactly what I'm going to do now, but this one is optional. You can do it if you want, you can leave it out if you want. So you see what we have. We've got dashed lines, so we can now zoom it out. For all the 12 tiles, we are going to repeat the process. So now we have done the same thing for all the tiles. To see, we can just zoom in, okay. When we are zooming in, you can see all the dashed lines, okay. We are now going to unlock the layer at the bottom, and now we are going to highlight everything that is in the labels layer like that, and then we're going to go to object, and then we lock everything in place so that it doesn't move, okay. And then after locking everything, we can then again we lock just to make sure that everything is locked. We can show the pattern. So that is our pattern under the basic bodice layer. So now we are done with everything. Now we are ready to print our pattern. Before printing, I like to save it as a PDF document. So let's do that now. We are going to go to File. We are going to say Save As. And then we are just going to change at the bottom Save As type. We are going to choose PDF document. And we are going to say save. You can change the name if you want, but I'm just going to leave it as is, but change it into a PDF, and then I'm going to say save. I love to come here and click on view PDF after saving, so that when you say save, it's going to open the PDF so I can see what it looks like, okay. So if it's not clicked, I make sure that it's clicked here, then I go save. So this is our PDF document. Now it's opened. We can go to the menu and we can go to view and say we want to zoom to page level. So now we have a complete page. We can then go to page 2. See our page 2, our page 3, page 4, and then now we go to the next row. We have page 1, 2, 3, 4. Next row, page 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that is how we create tiles that are going to be printed in an A4 paper. So now we go to the printer and we're going to print everything. So my printer is on another table. We're going to stand up and go to the printer and actually click print. You can click the print that is right here, or you can go to main menu and then click print. So after clicking print, normally you find that the automatic place when you are printing documents, you find that here under page sizing and handling, this part is normally clicked. So this is how it's going to look. This is the print preview. And that's not what we want. Okay, sometimes you find that it's here on shrink oversized pages. We also don't want that. We actually want our pattern to be printed to the actual size. It shouldn't be shrinked, it shouldn't be stretched. Okay, so the correct setting that we're going to choose is we're going to choose actual size. That is the print preview. This is exactly how it is. So now we can click on print. I'm going to go and retrieve my documents on the printer. Okay, I'm going to leave you guys for now. So now we have our pattern right here. It has been printed into 12 pages, as I've said. We are now assembling the pages. We start by cutting along the cutting lines, as I said. Maybe before cutting, we are going to get our tape measure, and then we're going to use our scale to measure and see if our pattern was printed up to the correct scale. Okay, so we are going to start with the inches. The first inch, I usually don't like to use it because it's a bit skewed. It doesn't start at the very beginning. So I'm just going to start and place one right here like that. And we can see that this is exactly 1 inch. Okay, and up to here it is 2 inches, so it means it was printed up to the correct scale. And then we can also come to the centimeters. We turn the tape measure again. I'm going to start at 1 centimeter and measure like that. Okay, even this one, it is correct. Now we are going to cut along the cutting line on the side like this. we take A2. They're supposed to be side by side like that. I said you cut on one side and then you don't cut on the other side. So let's continue cutting. For the last one, we are not cutting anything. We are just going to place them like that. And then we continue. Because this is the second row, we are going to be joining this and that. So we are going to cut even the top. Again, the last one, we cut only the top, not this one because there's no page coming this side. Now we are going to be joining the pieces. We are starting with the last ones. Now we are going to be joining the pieces. We are going to start with the last row. That is C, okay? So this is what I was talking about. These are the assembling guides. So you see now the kite is complete. And then you continue. So we put this row aside. Take the second one. If you're afraid of getting confused, you can start with the first row. That is the A row. Come to the second row, the third row, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't matter which row you start with, as long as you make sure that B and B and B and B are in a straight line. Now we are done with the first row. Next we are going to bring the second row. We join them together. So you see the pattern is already coming out. Start by joining the lines, the pattern lines, making sure that they are aligned. And then tape everything down. And then continue taping the rest of the pattern. Make sure the pattern is well secured. So now we are ready to cut out our pattern. So this is our basic pattern. We have the front and also the back. You can then copy it into another pattern paper and then manipulate it in whatever way that you want. Again, thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure you give it a big thumbs up and also leave us a comment in the comment section. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure that you subscribe and also hit on the notifications bell. That is going to make sure that you get notified each time we post another video. We love you so much, and remember, God is our strength. Bye-bye.